Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer. Say, here's a question for all of you mind readers out there. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and take a look at my top 10 favorite board games with deck building. Hello everybody, we'll be back to the review in just a second. I just want to take a minute to tell you to go visit Galaxy of Games in West Jordan, Utah. It is Utah's newest game store. It's run by friends of mine. It's a great place, great selection, great prices, well lit, clean bathrooms. If you go in there, ladies and gentlemen, and you tell them that I sent you, the Discriminating Gamer, and you use the promo code TDG, you'll get 10% off of your purchase. Check out Galaxy of Games. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so today we're taking a look at my top 10 favorite board games with deck building. Now what I mean here is, I'm not looking at simply deck building card games, I'm looking at board games that have boards, that have components, that have things you do, that have some kind of a card deck building mechanic baked into that. There's a lot of great games that do this. We're going to go ahead and take a look. First of all, one brief honorable mention I do want to talk about, and that is probably, I think, the first, if I'm not mistaken, the first true board game that used deck building mechanics in the board game, and this is A Few Acres of Snow. Now this is a game that came out a while ago. I only played this once or twice. I really enjoyed it. I think I ended up selling it or giving it away just because I had a hard time getting it to the table, and I think I actually gave it away when I moved to Texas. But I really enjoyed it, and it was a fun game. It did have some, I know there was a, somebody claimed it was broken, or they claimed it was broken. There was a simple thing you could do. I didn't even see that until after I stopped playing it, so I can't comment on that. All I know is it was innovative and it was fun, and I liked it. But now let's go ahead and take a look at these top 10 games with deck building. Now, number 10 is a game I just played and reviewed recently. It's a lighter game. It's a very light game, but it's still fun, and the way the deck building works is pretty cool. This is Disney Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. Now, in Disney Big Thunder Mountain Railroad from Funko Games, essentially, your miners, it plays up to 4 players, your miners, you're moving your carts around a track, and there's a mountain that has marbles. You twist it, marbles come down. Depending on where the marbles fall, you want to get your cart there to mine it. But you do this using a deck building mechanic. You have starter cards, and you can resupply. And essentially, as you play these cards, as you're playing these cards, they let you either move, they let you either kind of mine, they let you sluice, they let you bail out water, they let you buy more cards. There's all sorts of things the cards let you do. So it's kind of a fun and interesting little deck builder, and I think this game is a great kind of intro to deck building. It's a great gateway for that, for people who have no experience with deck building, and it's also a way for people who maybe for younger people to learn this particular mechanic. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. That is Disney Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. That is from Funko Games. My number 9 is a game that came out, 2 or 3 years ago. I was in Texas when this came out. And this is a very fun game, although it's very light. Another light game, but it has a kind of an interesting deck building mechanic. And this is Extraordinary Adventures Pirates. Now, in Extraordinary Adventures Pirates, essentially you're racing, it's a racing game through the Caribbean. But as you're racing, you're also picking up and delivering items along the way, and you're gaining points this way. So you're trying to be the first one to get to the end because you get the most points if you get there first. But there's other ways you're gaining points. And you're doing this through kind of an innovative card system. You go to some places, you can buy more cards, and the cards let you move your ship, but they also let you do some other fun and interesting things. Great racing game with deck building in it, fun art, kind of a, like I say, a lighter game, but this is another game that I think is a great kind of gateway for people to learn deck building, and also a great game for younger people. Now, I actually ended up giving my copy of this to Zach, because he's got younger kids, and I wanted them to enjoy it, and I had to get rid of some of my games in some of the moves. And this was one I gave to him, but just talking about it now, I want to play it again. It's a really fun game. Extraordinary Adventures Pirates. That is from Forbidden Games. My number 8 is a game that was extraordinarily popular a few years ago, and there have been several variations of it since, including a legacy version. I've not played any of them except for the original game, and this is Clank. Now, in Clank, you are essentially trying to go into a dungeon, trying to get treasure, but you're using a deck building system that allows you, again, to move, to do other fun and interesting things. Essentially, you're going into a dungeon, you're trying to gain gold and treasure, there is a dragon, and then you're trying to find the right time to get out of the dungeon as well. So it's kind of, again, it's almost a race, but you've got to time it just perfectly. But it's fun, it's thematic, and the deck building here, again, works very, very well. I really enjoyed Clank. It's actually one that I've wanted to play some of the other iterations of it. I know George was telling me he and Duffy were playing the Legacy version, and he was saying that was really, really fun. So maybe I need to revisit some more of these, but I really enjoyed the base game. This is Clank, and I believe it's from Direwolf. 7 is a game that I played just a few months ago. I think it was over the summer that I played this one. This is another great deck building game that is a race game, but this is The Hunger. And The Hunger, you're vampires. And you start in the center, you got to get all the way to the periphery, and then you need to get all the way back again. Now, as you're heading out, it feels like you got all this time. You can take your time, you can make your deck stronger, you can do other things to get points. There's all these fun things you can do. But then, by the time you're getting toward the end of the track and you got to get back, you realize the sun's coming out. You've got to get home before the sun comes out or you're dead. Doesn't matter how many points you get. So then you start this long race back, and you're trying to get through your cards as quickly as possible. And all those really cool cards that you were collecting that helped you out, that gave you points, now they're liabilities because they're slowing you down. And it's so much fun. It's a great deck builder, a great race game. This one's a little, I'd say, maybe not a lot, but a little more complicated than some of these other lighter deck builders. But there's still, I still think it's accessible enough for most people, and certainly there's enough meat here for more experienced gamers. Fun artwork, fun theme of this game, vampires trying to go out and get home before the sun comes up, and really good deck building. So that is The Hunger. That is my number 7, and that is from Renegade Game Studios. My number 6 is a game that's actually been out for a while. I didn't play it until, it's about a year ago that I played it. It was not long after I moved here to Wyoming, and a Gale Force 9 reached out to me and they asked if I'd like to review this. And this is a game that it came out earlier. I think Wizards of the Coast, originally put it out. I'm not sure. But Gale Force 9 just did the reprint of it. And this is Tyrants of the Underdark. Now, in Tyrants of the Underdark, you are, of course, it's a Dungeons & Dragons game where you are underground. You're trying to kind of move, and there's area control, and you're kind of going to war with other people, but there's different decks that you can employ. And again, you're using your decks for movement, you're using your decks to engage with these other players. Got a great dark theme, and it's just a super, super, super fun deck building experience. With a board game. Really love Tyrants of the Underdark. Again, I've only played this, I think, once or twice, but it's one of those games I need to get to the table again because it is amazing. But this is Tyrants of the Underdark. This is my number 6, and that is from Gale Force 9. We'll get back to the review in just a moment. I want to take a minute to ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about history, books on history, military history. I even post some of my lectures for my classes on there. Please check that out. Please subscribe to that channel. And now, back to the review. Now, my number 5 is a game that I'm kind of crying about because I got it, I think it came out in 2016, and I played it, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I played it a couple of times, really had fun with it. But then I ended up selling it when I moved because I hadn't gotten to a table in a while because it is kind of complex. There's some complexity. It's not the easiest game to teach, and that's always kind of a hurdle to getting it to the table. But it was a fun game. There was a solo version too, but I never played it solo. I just played it with other people. I really wish if I kept it, I would have taken the time to learn it solo by now, and I'm sure I would have played it. This is from WizKids. This is Star Trek Frontiers. Now, Star Trek Frontiers is a riff on Mage Knight. Sorry, Mage Knight's going to be on this list. I owned it for a while, but I never played it. But Star Trek Frontiers is a great deck-building game where you're playing, you're putting crews on your spaceship, but you're also playing cards for their attack value, for their shields. You're moving, you're kind of exploring. There's almost a 4X idea here. You've got great Borg minis that would come out that would try to attack you. And of course, you've got the cool ships, and you've got the hero click system here as well. But the game is, again, got a great theme. I'm a sucker for Star Trek games. I really enjoy Star Trek games, and this was a great one that integrated deck building and kind of exploration and some other systems that I really, really enjoyed. There was dice in it too. You'd roll different kinds of dice for your systems. Really enjoyed it quite a bit. And I think about a year or two later, they came out with an expansion with Khan. I never played that one. And of course, the players themselves are playing like Federation, Klingons, Romulans. But it was a super fun game, and I miss it. And I think it's out of print now, and so I'm kind of bummed about that. Maybe, hopefully, one day they'll bring this one back into print, and I can take another look at it. But I freaking enjoyed Star Trek Frontiers. This is my number 5, and that is from WizKids. My number 4 is a game from GMT Games. This is another one that came out, I think, about 2017. Remember, we played it right before I left. I left Utah, went to Texas, and played it a couple times since. It's been too long, though. It's probably been at least a couple of years since I played it. But this is Time of Crisis. Time of Crisis is a great deck-building game set in the Roman Empire, and you're different kind of governors over different sections. But you've got different cards. They're color-coded, but there's like military stuff, there's political stuff, and you're trying to play these cards in order to kind of increase your area, but also protect yourself from barbarians. And then, of course, you're also kind of screwing with the other governors as well. Really a fun and interesting game. Again, kind of, I don't know if area control is the word, but certainly you're trying to encroach on other people's provinces while you're defending your own provinces, and the cards give you the infrastructure to do this. Again, I believe there was an expansion that came out for this one. I never played the expansion. Maybe that's something I need to look into. But Time of Crisis, another great GMT game with deck building, which is something you don't usually associate with GMT. But it's done very, very well here. I really enjoyed Time of Crisis, and I actually wouldn't mind seeing this system kind of more implemented in other kind of historical scenarios from GMT. I think they would do a great job with it. This is Time of Crisis from GMT Games, and that is my number 4. My number 3 is a game that I played it for the first time right before I left Utah and went to Texas, and then I played it a few times since, played it in Texas a few times. And I really like it because it's a fairly simple game, but there's a lot of complexity here. I know a lot of people poo-poo it, and yes, I use the term poo-poo, but I really, really enjoy it. This is Trains from AEG. Trains from AEG is you're in Japan, you are building kind of different buildings, but you're also building trains, which are just kind of cubes, and you're trying to connect the areas for points and building stuff up for points. But the way the deck building works, and again, you've got different decks that you're putting out there, so it's not the same decks every time. But every time you build stuff, you get waste, which clogs up your deck. But it's great fun. And what I like about this one, too, is it's not a terribly long game, but for what it is, it's very engaging. My friend Chris actually bought me the sequel, Rising Sun, when I was in Texas. Super nice of him. It was on sale, and he just bought it for me. I thought that was great, and I still haven't played it. I need to get that to the table. Trains is phenomenal. This is from AEG. That is my number 3, Trains. Now, I got to tell you, friends, my top 2, which you probably can guess if you have watched the channel, they are 2 games that I really went back and forth on which one I liked better, because I love both of these games. They both have solo modes to them. They both have multiplayer modes, but they're very, very different games, and I love them both. So my number 2 is Dune Imperium. Dune Imperium, of course, came out, I think, 2020, so it's just a couple years old. They've already got one expansion, and the second expansion is just coming out as I'm recording this. Maybe I will have played it by the time I air this video. I don't know. We'll see. But Dune Imperium is so much fun, because Dune Imperium is a deck builder, but it's also a worker placement game. And the cards you play allow you to place your workers in the different areas, but they also allow you to gain, through the placement in the different areas, they allow you to put essentially combat units into the conflict zone because you're competing for different conflict cards, which give you things like victory points, but they give you other rewards as well. And they usually give you like tiered rewards, first place, second place, third place, etc. And so players are trying to battle each other in the conflict zones, but they're also competing for the spaces on the board, and they're doing this with the cards. And the cards, like I say, they do all sorts of funky things. They give you all sorts of special abilities, and it's cool because the artwork and the whole aesthetic of the game is based on the Denis Villeneuve film. And so it's really exciting to kind of have a movie tie-in this way. although it is really the book tie-in, that looks so good and plays so good. This is really one of the truly great games. I think that year this was my number 2 game. Came in just behind Versailles 1919, which is another great game. But Dune Imperium is solid, it's fun, and it was one of those games that everybody was raving about when it came out, and I was a little late to the party. And when I finally ended up playing it, I kind of almost wanted to be the guy saying, it's not that good. But I couldn't. I really enjoyed Dune Imperium. I think it's a fantastic game. Great deck building in a kind of a board game integration there. So that is Dune Imperium. That is my number 2, and that is from Direwolf. Well, my number 1 game that incorporates deck building into play. Like I said, this is a game that you probably know if you've watched the channel. I'm a big fan of the designer, whom I just was able to meet with recently and have him come out here to Wyoming. One of the designers. But it's just a great game. It has had 2 expansions. The most recent expansion enhances the game considerably. And this is Undaunted Normandy. Undaunted Normandy is phenomenal. It is a war game, a light war game to be sure, but it is a war game, a tactical war game that uses cards and deck building. And it's great because every turn you draw 4 cards, but you got to play one of the cards as an initiative card. And you may want to go first, but at the same time, you may need that card. So there's a great choice there. But then you play the cards to move your units on the board, to shoot, to collect more cards, to kind of manipulate your deck in ways. It is one of the most brilliant systems I've ever played. And I love war games, and I love, of course, World War II history and World War II war games. And then I love deck building. And David Thompson and Trevor Benjamin, in their design here, made an absolutely brilliant board game design with deck building. And in fact, I was talking to Dave when he was here, and he kind of said he was a little influenced by A Few Acres of Snow. And he said he went to Normandy, and I guess his grandfather fought in the war, and he's kind of interested in that history, and that kind of prompted him to make this game. And it's absolutely phenomenal. We've seen the Undaunted North Africa, which has come out since, and then the Undaunted Reinforcements, which came out earlier this year, which is just so good. It adds so much to the game. It allows you to now play the game 4-player. It allows a solitaire system. It's really, really great. And of course, we've got Undaunted Stalingrad, which again has not been released at the time I'm recording this. Maybe it'll be released by the time I air it. And then, of course, in the next spring, we've got Undaunted Battle of Britain, which I'm really looking forward to. This, if you have not yet played Undaunted Normandy, do yourself a favor, go out, pick it up. It's not a conventional war game. Some people are, upset because there's no line of sight issues or anything like that. No, it's not a conventional war game, but it is a fun deck building war game. So that is my number 1. That is Undaunted Normandy, and that is from Osprey Games. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is my top 10 board games with deck building. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun looking at some of these games and compiling this list. Good stuff here, but please let me know, what are your thoughts? What are your favorite board games that incorporate deck building? Do you like my list? Do you not like my list? Let me know. I'm always eager to hear what it is you have to say. I'd also ask you, ladies and gentlemen, to please go ahead, leave a comment here on not just YouTube, but on our website, discriminatinggamer.com, on Facebook, on Twitter. Please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. And I'd ask you to check out my other channel, Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about military history, books on history, fun things like that. I'm actually currently posting my lectures for my course on Nazi Germany. If that's a subject you're interested in, you can go ahead and check that out there. Please sub to that channel. I really appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, it's funny. I've got to tell you, I actually started out my career as a psychic, but I gave it up. I couldn't see any future in it.
Please somebody help me.